important that my people know what's going on, that we know what's happening, and that my people perish for lack of knowledge. If I've got some knowledge, I want to share it. That's why I'm here.
I think more than anything else is to give people hope, give the young men hope. When you talk about at the end about expungement, we had a focus group, and the focus group indicated that this is their concern, and with expungement, a friend of the court, and also returning citizens for transition. And so we had those three workshops, and then also jobs are always important.
Reverend Holly had contacted me regarding an event he had or was putting on that focused on improvement in the community predominantly. That's the big picture. You know, when you break it down, you're talking about jobs, you're talking about expungements, you're talking about, you know, getting knowledge in the community, friend of the court information, things that affect people that we know and love.
You know, I participated in a panel. We were talking about ways to empower particularly African American youth, males. And, you know, I came out personally just, you know, to interact with other African American men, to be inspired today, to just talk about how do we better our condition.
And it's probably not popular to talk about, but it's true, and it may not even be politically correct to say it, but as black men, we are feared. And when we're confronted with a situation where the police has encountered us, what I always encourage young people, or all people, to do is to do everything the police officer tells you to do. Even if you think you're being wronged in some way, that is a battle that you are not going to win at the end of the day. You have other recourses. You have very fine attorneys that you can call, like Ty Perkins, Byron Pitts, and I'm sorry, the gentleman. Yes, and this panel is full of attorneys who will fight for you. That is not the time to pick your fight, because that's a battle you're not going to win. That police officer has a gun, and if that police officer chooses to use that gun, guess whose story is going to be told at the end of the day?
When you are pulled over, that officer is going to suggest that he has a legal reason to pull you over. And when he says he has a legal reason to pull over, do your best to comply with what he is saying. If he asks for your license, show him your license. If he asks for some identification register, do your best to give it to him, and in that context, be polite. Now, no matter how polite you might be, they might be as rude as they can be, because in that situation, they have the power. And if we say something to them, they're gonna call their boys. And it went from one officer to 10 officers. And those officers are going to get together, and this is the truth, and get their story straight. Because that's how they survive out there. They survive by sticking together. So we have to be a step smarter and realize this is a battle we cannot win. Do what we do, and then if they still disrespect us, call Mr. Perkins, call Mr. Pitts, call Mr. Hawkins, call this fine gentleman right here, and assert your rights. But the street is not the place to do it, because you will never beat a shark in the ocean.
To realize, and I think more than anything else, is that what's going to stop a bullet is a job and education. And many of our men cannot all rap their way out of poverty. They can't all football the way out, cannot basketball the way out, but they can educate and get their way out. And I think this is what I think many people are walking away, and hopefully that when they do, they will have a sense of knowing that they're in control of their own destiny.
Trouble is easy to get into and hard to get out of. And once you get into trouble, it's never too late to change. And there are people out here that are willing to help you along
the way. I just love him as a brother, and love the work that he's doing, and the energy that he's giving to the cause of black people. Whether it is in Ferguson or in Baltimore, Washington, or now in Detroit. If you don't mind, I'd just like him to feel welcome. If you could stand and just let Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant hear from us.
Come on, brothers, make some noise. Come on, you got to do better than that with your beautiful black self. Would you make some noise if you're glad to be alive? I want, before you take your seats, we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude. There ought to be a distinction. Just because you're old, it doesn't mean you're an elder. An elder is somebody who makes an impartation into the youth and has something that is worthy of a deposit. All of us ought to be glad and grateful that there are still authentic ministers like Pastor Holly, who really has a heart for our people and a heart for our community. Would you really give Dr. Holly a big hand for even assembling us? Thank you so much, sir. I'm honored. I'm humbled. You may be seated. This does my heart extremely well because, Doc, you really have helped defended the faith when so many of our young people and ministers no longer believe in the church or clergy, that you have represented with integrity what it means to be a man of God. Is not just what you put on your tax statement, but really what you live out all year long. I think you ought to really, just one more time, even while you're seated, let's applaud him and thank God for him. Brother Minister, I say that simply because black people have a strange relationship with leadership. Is that we celebrate our leaders regrettably after they're gone. When our leaders are alive, we run their names through the street, and then after they die, we name the street after them. But I'm thankful that Dr. Holly is alive to see that the legacy that God has put in his heart is still going to come to pass. And I'm thankful, Doc, that you would in fact give this kind of impartation. Dr. Jeremiah Wright said it's all right to be a copycat if you know which cat to copy. And so I really came for selfish reasons, not really to speak, but I wanted to steal all of this and take it to Baltimore. So when y'all hear about it, just act like you heard about it for the very first time. Amen. I'm grateful. I'm appreciative and hope that you all will stay with us through the day. We've got an incredible group of committed lawyers who are really going to walk you through the legal process and how it is that we can fix a broken system and try to do something to help engage our black brothers. I say, attorneys, all the time that somehow or another we have demented history. The reality is that the civil rights movement could not have been built on Dr. King's speeches because Dr. King didn't change any laws. If it weren't for the likes of Thurgood Marshall or so many advocates who were on the Charles Hamilton Houston who were on the front line to change the law, then it would just be another sermon. But those who really do the work are not in front of the camera but behind the scenes. And so even before my brothers emerge, would you help me salute and celebrate our attorneys who are going to help walk you through an emergency exit. It's very important that you are a part of that process this afternoon because America comprises 3% of the global population, but we make up 37% of the prison population. Did you hear what I just said? I said America represents 3% of the global population, but 37% of the prison population. There are more people in prison in America than any other nation in the world. Right now, while you are in this room, there are 1 million black men under penal supervision. Why is that important? It's more important for you to realize that because there are more black men in jail in America, watch this, than in the entire continent of Africa. Did y'all hear what I just said? 1 out of 10 black people have a prison record. 1 out of 10 have an arrest record. Either they are incarcerated, on parole, on probation, or on home monitoring. So what it is that Dr. Holly is endeavoring to do is so significant, is so striking, that it cannot be left just in what's happening in Detroit, but it's got to be replicated all over the United States of America. So I'm going to take all of the flyers y'all leave on the floor, all the business cards y'all leave, because Baltimore is in pain, and we've got to do something. The reason why we have to leave after sharing with you all today, a young man earlier this week in a wheelchair was endeavoring, if you can even capture this, was endeavoring to commit suicide. And the police were notified a young black man is endeavoring to commit suicide, has a gun, watch this, to his own head. So he's a threat to nobody but himself. And the police opened fire and killed a man in a wheelchair with 7 bullets. And can I tell you, not one of the officers are in jail right now. Not one of them have even been fingerprinted. Not one of them had a profile shot. Can you imagine if that was one of us? Yeah, it would be a difficult and a dark day. I came, Dr. Holly, because last week I was at Brother Minister Congressional Black Caucus, and I sat on a panel entitled Hip Hop and the Impact of Politics. Hip Hop and the Impact of Politics. Last week, all of our black congressional legislators were there, all of the Negroes whose be important. Amen. They were there in Washington, D.C. And I'm on this panel, and my mind can't help but reflect, reminisce, and remember my time growing up with Tupac Shakur. And I met Tupac, brothers, in Baltimore, because he's not from Compton. I met him in Baltimore because he was at the School for the Arts with my sister. And because he and my sister were friends, I developed a relationship with him. In the summer of 1988, we started touring through Baltimore, going to youth projects, juvenile detention centers, and youth prisons. And his was amazing. He was doing spoken word at the time, wasn't even rapping. And I was, in fact, the little kid preacher. So we were on tour going through Baltimore. His mother, who was a devout member of the Black Panther Party, was very critical in his life and in his development. Having no relationship with his biological father, my father stepped in to be a surrogate voice in his life. I went to Morehouse College after failing out of high school and getting a GED. I went to Morehouse College, and my father drove me and Tupac to Atlanta. Drove us both to Atlanta, registered me in the Morehouse, and then after we moved into the dorm, we went down 3 blocks to Clark Atlanta University and registered Tupac in Clark Atlanta University as a major in mass communications. That summer, watch this, summer after our freshman year, Digital Underground, a rap group, those of you who are over 35 remember that, you're doing the Humpty Dance, so I'm in pre-midlife crisis, so some of y'all don't even remember what that group is. Digital Underground came through the AUC, Atlanta University Center, and Tupac then joined Digital Underground and became a roadie with them and dropped out of college. Dropped out of college and then moved to Los Angeles. Stay with me. And here's what's important that I want you all to know, and I tell young men this all the time, is Tupac never had a record until he had a hit record. That's right. That's right. That's right. Stay with me. He never had a record until he had a hit record. Was never in a gang unless you count the Actors Guild. All right. All right. All right. Don't forget, he was at the School for the Arts in acting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In 1992, he does a film called Juice. And he portrays, Dr. Holly, something that ought to convict us. He portrays a character named Bishop. All right? Representation, here it is, of the compromise of the church. Is is that the young men, here it is, weren't even looking at doing anything illegal, but the bishop pushed them. Are you all with me? And they in fact attempt, for those of you who didn't see the film, check it out on Netflix. They attempt to rob a corner store. It goes wrong, watch this, and the shop owner ends up being killed. All of America, by the bishop, all of America buy into the character. And in buying into the character, it is almost life imitating art. Go ahead. And because people in Detroit, people in Oakland, people in Houston, people in Atlanta, people in Harlem perceive Tupac as being a thug, he then embodies the role he played. That's right. That's right. Because he wasn't one in real life. You all stay with me. So I was with him, stay with me, I was with him when he got his first tattoo. On his right shoulder is in fact a tattoo of Jesus Christ with a crown of thorns around his head. I was not with him when he got his second tattoo, which is a serpent on the left shoulder. Already you find where there is in fact a strain of existence. That on one side I got Jesus Christ. But on the other side, I've got the entity that destroyed the community. I've got the very species that in fact messed up paradise. And so I've got two different things happening on the same time. I got Jesus on my side, but I'm wrestling with a serpent. And then on his abs, he has thug life, even though he never lived it. And the thug life, the I in thug life, is in the shape of a rifle and a bullet. And he embodies what he learned at School for the Arts. Is that the School for the Arts teach you that when it is that you are acting, you've got to develop the method system. The method system suggests, so become a part of the character that people don't know the character from you. So here's what's amazing, is that many people cried out and defended, no way did Bill Cosby do it. No way. Why? Because you believe Cliff Huxtable. You became, watch this, a part of the method system. That says that the character is the person. So he ingratiated and became a part of a character and then began to spiral downwards. Why? Because every time he had to prove himself to be a part of a culture he authentically was not. Why are you telling me that, Reverend Brian? I'm telling you that because there has been a script written for black men in America that says that you are a thug, that says you are a gangster, that says to you that you are a criminal. And what have we done? We memorize our lines. We memorize our lines and they've escorted us to the wardrobe department. And you've taken on the wardrobe of the character you're supposed to play. So now you're walking around with jeans hanging down half your behind, not knowing that's prison wardrobe. That's not the wardrobe of somebody that's the CEO of a company. That's not the wardrobe of somebody who comes from the genius of greatness that was able to come up with algebra and chemistry and build pyramids. That's not the wardrobe of those who are in fact leaders. That's the wardrobe of somebody on cell block H. They're giving you a character development and said, learn the lines of the character. That we want you to say that Caitlyn Jenner is courageous and Serena is in fact a man. Y'all don't like me in Detroit. It's all right. I'm going back to Baltimore. And because of it, we have rejected the beauty of our own black women and have taken a white man in drag and say it's all right for that if you can see it through the prism of the wrong perspective. The lines are wrong. The wardrobe is wrong. And so we built an existence, watch this, cream cash rules everything around me. So that everything in our development, everything in our psychosis is about money without substance. How many of our brothers have gone to jail who were brilliant? Running Fortune 500 companies with no office. Y'all will get it in a minute. That there are only two different entities that are recession proof. Entertainment and pharmaceuticals.
pharmaceuticals. So it doesn't matter how bad the Dow stock goes, if you are in pharmaceuticals, you always gonna rise. Why not that same business acumen be applied to our young brothers who found out how to pull together a corporate structure without an MBA? But because we have in fact reduced ourselves to petty criminals when the ones that really flew it in here go away scot-free, y'all don't believe me? Ask me how Jeb Bush is running for president when his daddy was nothing more than a drug dealer, because his children were able to benefit and your children is fighting over Air Force Ones. Got to be something where we reevaluate the character of what it is that we assume. I told you I failed out of high school, and the guidance counselor told my parents, put me in Job Corps. Put me in Job Corps, he's not college material, and if you can't put him in Job Corps, put him in the military. But my parents said, absolutely not. We are raising a scholar. He's going to college. Watch this, who flunked out of high school. That's what my mama said. She got crazy faith. I call it crackhead faith, that you can just believe it when it ain't even there. Some of y'all are left that. When you believe God, you got to have crackhead faith and just say, God, I trust you, and I can't even see nothing. I trust you, and I don't even know how it's going to happen. I trust you, and I got nothing that's going to confirm it, but I believe I'm going to be able to get it done. You got to have that kind of faith that says to you with no evidence it's got to take place. So I failed out of high school. Watch this. I want to show you the hand of God. I failed out of high school, and I take the GED. Take the GED and graduate in the top 3 percentile of people who take the GED as a high school dropout. Which says I knew how to do the work, I just never applied myself. Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, in his book To Be Popular or Smart, said that before the 6th grade, every black man makes a decision. Are you going to be popular or are you going to be smart? And when you track back into your own memory, think about how well you were doing in math, how well you were doing in creative writing, up to the 6th grade. Then the 7th grade, you watch the video. All of a sudden, you want to be a hustler. You want to be a gangster because of, watch this, black enslavement television. Put in your mind, this is your only way out. If sports is the only way out, you don't have to dribble the ball on the team. Our level of thinking has got to go to a whole nother level. I applied to Morehouse College, never seeing the campus, not being from Georgia, being from Baltimore, but saying, I want to go there. Why? I don't know nothing about their programs. I don't know nothing about the curriculum. I don't even know what classes they offer. I want to go there simply because Dr. King went there. And I applied to Morehouse College with being a high school dropout. Said, nowhere in the world. My father said, man, with the grades you got, brother, you're going to be lucky if I can get you in the morgue and get Morehouse out of your head. I said, I got Prozac crackhead faith. I'm believing it's going to happen. The day before school started, watch this, day before school started, the dean of admissions calls my house and says, is there a Jamal Bryant there? I said, this is Jamal Bryant. Back then we didn't have cell phones, we just had pagers. Y'all remember that from Motorola. We just had pagers. I'm answering my mother's phone, the brown phone with the long cord that goes through the whole house. I answer the phone. This is Jamal Bryant. He says, this is the dean of admissions at Morehouse. He said, I don't know who you are, but last night I couldn't sleep because I kept hearing your name. He said, I came into the school this morning and I told the staff at Morehouse, does anybody know Jamal Bryant? And the whole staff said, no, we don't know no Jamal Bryant. I said, go through the whole student file and see if we can find a Jamal Bryant in here. They said, no, we can't find no Jamal Bryant. He said, finally, look in the rejection pile. They looked in the rejection pile, and when they looked through the rejection pile, they found my name. He said, sir, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's a whole lot of people who are more gifted, more qualified, but last night I kept hearing your name, and if you can be here tomorrow, I'll put you in the school. Y'all don't even know when God starts working on your behalf, nothing can stop you from what you're getting ready to do. I said, sir, I got to find my parents. I got to call my dad. to my mama, I don't know if I got money for tuition to get to Morehouse tomorrow. I don't even know if I got money to get to Georgia on tomorrow. And the dean of admission said, son, did I say anything to you about money? I said, no, sir. She said, there was a young man who was supposed to be here on an Oprah Winfrey scholarship, but at the last minute he changed his mind. If you can be here tomorrow, I'll give you his scholarship. When God's got you on his mind, it don't matter what mistakes you made in your past. You can still get back up on your feet. I'm telling you, there is a destiny ahead of you. Dr. Benjamin Elijah May said that there's a crown above your head that you got to grow tall enough to wear. Brothers, I didn't come here because I didn't have nothing to do. I came because I want to make sure your next step is the step that's going to lead you into destiny. Too many of you been doing the electric slide, going back into what it is that you've been trapped in. But when it is that you got destiny and got an assignment and got a call, you understand no weapon formed against me. If they couldn't kill us in the Middle Passage, if they couldn't kill us with Jim Crow, if they couldn't kill us with lynching, if they couldn't kill us with crack cocaine, how in the world I'm gonna let some Saint lunatic named Donald Trump become the president of the United States and I don't even vote, I don't even make an impact, I don't even make a difference? Are you crazy? There's too much at stake for you. It's a dangerous time. We're going to Washington, D.C. on October the 10th, and y'all in cruise control. You in cruise control while we driving over the cliff. And started having church in the nightclub. And the owner said, Rev, you can use my church, my nightclub, as your church. Only thing you got to do is come in early Sunday morning and pick up the malt liquor bottles and the condoms out of the bathroom and try to fumigate so it don't smell like weed by the time the choir gets up. And you can have it. I said, this is going to win for me because everybody know where the club is. I ain't even got to do that much PR. So y'all can just spend the night, just wait for me to get there on Sunday. Catch this. And then when we left out of the nightclub, I went to Coppin State College. Coppin State College had an auditorium that held 800 people. Let me tell you how hood my church was, because I only had about 56 people at the time. I wanted to make sure in this auditorium that holds 1,000 people, everybody sit up front. Brother Mister, it was so hood in my church. To make sure everybody stood up front, I used police yellow tape. So you could only sit in the first 4 rows, and every week we would take the tape back 1 row for people to start coming. Y'all laughing. It was serious up in there. But watch this. I'm in the auditorium with 1,000 seats. Watch this. And 56 people. And I'm trusting God with no air conditioner. Good God, in the cinder block walls just like this. And I said, Lord, ain't nowhere in the world church people gonna come in here with heels on in 3-piece suits with no air. And the Lord said, Jamal, take the city, don't take the church. Y'all ain't talking back to me. And as a consequence, I hung up my robe, put it in the closet. And I had to do an autopsy of the community that I was, in fact, now beginning to pastor. And I exchanged the robe for throwback jerseys. I'm a 3rd generation preacher, and I put twists in my hair. This is 2000. I'm getting ready to take y'all back. Here it is. I told everybody, no suits. Everybody wear jeans. I told the ushers, don't stop the men if they come in with hats on. I'll change them once they get in. But all I need you to do is just help me get them in. Y'all not talking back to me. When it is that you got a role, you got to play, do what you got to do, baby. In order to make it work, it's going to be inconvenient for a season, but when you shift, then you make the change. When I left out of that high school auditorium, I built a multi-million-dollar facility, and watch this, I changed the rules. I changed the rules while we were in that little high school, that college auditorium. It was all right for throwback jerseys, but now, in the words of Beyonce, we've been upgraded. I now got HD cameras. I now got screens on the wall. Now I got central air and central heat. Y'all got to put some clothes on. did in the last building ain't gonna work in this building. And watch this, I didn't preach it. I began to model it. And I began to put on suits. And because the young men had only seen suits when they went to court, they said, here is a young black man who is in fact emulating the kind of role that I want, because I don't know a role model that could do it. And they said, Brother Brian, we're going to trust you. Why? Because if it is not transparency, it's hypocrisy. So I had to get up and do what I never heard preachers do. I had to get up and say, God, trust me, even though I dropped out of school. God's hand is on my life, even though I had a baby and I wasn't married. God believes in me, even though I get put out of my own school. I'm brilliant, even though I got a GED. And men started coming. Women started coming. Children started coming. The Nation of Islam taught me this. Watch this. Is that if a woman comes to church, it is a 50% chance that the people in her house come. But if you get the men to come, you got a 90% chance everybody in the house is getting ready to get up. When black men get up, I'm telling you, we'll change the country, we'll change the city, and you'll change your neighborhood into a community. But it'll never happen as long as you just balling out of control. When you got your mind on your destiny, mind on your assignment, mind that I am greater than my mistakes, that there is nothing that can stop me, that you understand the role that you're supposed to play. And in case you never came to the School for the Arts, I came to give you your lines, so that you'll know what you're supposed to remember. Here are your lines. There's just a couple of them. I am ahead and not beneath. I am a lender and not a borrower. I am a joint heir with Jesus Christ. If you don't remember all of that, just remember I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I gotta go catch a plane, but my name is Jamal Bryant, and I approve this message.